cape on. So I think Miami's a real team. Listen, if you look at Miami this year, when they play non-playoff teams, they win. When they go on the road and play a playoff team, they lose. I don't think Green Bay is a playoff team. I don't think Green Bay has the firepower to beat them. We'll see. By the way, I saw this. Aaron Rodgers apparently talking to Men's Health magazine about his ayahuasca, 3-day ayahuasca thing. Can I just read it? He said, night 1, I was a little resistant. Night 2, I fully surrendered to the process and to the master teacher. She was benevolent in her lessons. There's a lot of overall happiness that exists when you have a deeper love for yourself. It allows you to feel, give more, love better, interact better. So I've been working on that. So there you go. That was interesting.
Aaron Rodgers, he needed to find a deeper love for himself. He's been called basically a selfish player his entire season.
Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with
his
loving
career.
yourself.
Everybody in Green Bay comes out of there. Aaron only cares about himself. He's not friendly with anybody.
Nothing wrong with loving yourself. It all starts with...
Isn't there a line that you can cross with too much self-love?
Well,
by the way, can I give you... I love the Steelers pick. That's a great one by you. Do it for Franco Harris. Poor weather this week.
A lot of emotion.
Raiders coming across the country. Indoor team going outdoors. I like that Pittsburgh one.
Jordan Palmer's the founder of Quarterback Summit, helps young quarterbacks reach their potential. He had Mahomes as a kid, Trevor Lawrence as a kid, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen. He's had them all. Okay, let's just start with the ugly part, Zach Wilson. I said this. He looks overwhelmed. He looks lost. He didn't get hit a lot in college. I always thought he had a little bit too much cowboy for me. That's just my opinion. But I will say this, Jordan, he looks overwhelmed. That's my takeaway. What does he look like? You're a pro. This is what you do. What does he look like to you?
Well, I think in the evaluation process, look, I'm raising my hand here saying the NFL draft evaluation process, of which I'm uniquely positioned to have an opinion based off how I spent the last 13 years getting guys ready for it. The evaluation process between the combine, between the pro days, between the personal interactions, the visits, and all that stuff. I think it's ripe for innovation. And what happens is we get so caught up in stats and highlights and what they are physically capable of doing, and then how well they handled an evaluation process of which they were literally getting prepared for. And Zach was prepared for by a great group of people. What happens is we don't look at what, in my opinion, is obvious, which is if I'm the Jets and I ask him to be the Jets quarterback, what in his upbringing, what in the last few years has showed me that he's ready to do this? What at BYU, of which he won the job his last year in camp, what at BYU did I see where I go, yep, that translates to New York City? And so I look at Zach physically, yes, and his intelligence, I've been around him. Dude can totally learn ball. He's a smart guy, pick it up quick. But it's a lot like when the Chicago Bears took Trubisky from Chapel Hill with the second pick, ironically, and I was a Bear, and I said, there's nothing about North Carolina that prepares you for that.
Right.
And there's nothing in his childhood and nothing in the upbringing. It's not even a knock. I'm not saying this is Zach's fault. I'm saying it's the Jets. It's the media that put pressure on the Jets to do it. And ironically here, I think it's the Jets fan base that were so mad about how Sam Darnold went that they were so excited to just move the chapter. And yet everybody missed what I think is the most important piece, which is, has he done things in his life that have prepared him to be this quarterback on this team, in this franchise, in this city?
Yeah. Patrick Mahomes doesn't have Tyreek Hill. It looks different this year, but what really is remarkable about Patrick to me is he's gone through a defensive rebuild, an O-line rebuild, a receiver room rebuild, no impact. So it tells me cognitively he picks stuff up really quick. What does the film say? What are you seeing from a kid you had before anybody else? What are you seeing this year without Tyreek?
Well, I actually think Patrick and Steph Curry, I see a lot of similarities there in terms of what they've done, in their upbringing, both from like not really super respected college programs. I mean, Steph went to Davidson and Patrick went to Texas Tech, and but they started off scorers and playmakers. Patrick Mahomes, most people didn't watch it, but his highlight tape in college is ridiculous. Steph Curry, I think he was 4th all time in scoring, and I don't follow basketball like you guys do, but he was a dominant college basketball player, dominant scorer, right? He could always, it's not like he learned how to shoot when he got to the league. It's not like Patrick learned how to throw touchdowns when he got to the league. But what's happened is with Patrick, he's gone from a scorer, a playmaker, a guy at Texas Tech who was usually down, usually had to score 40 points to be in it, or score 40 points and lose. And he's turned into a distributor. Now, I grew up watching basketball, and I used to love Allen Iverson when I was a kid.
Right.
And as I got better at basketball and understood the game better, I started loving guys like Nash and Tony Parker because they were distributors. And when I think of distributor, I think of they pass the ball to a guy with a high percentage shot.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, how many layups did Tim Duncan make in his illustrious career?
Right.
And what Pat's doing is he still has the playmaker, but he's distributing the ball. He's taking the check down. He's hitting the shallow cross. He's very accurate in screens and bubble screens. And he's not the only one. Josh is another guy who's built his game on being a playmaker, becoming a distributor. But I think that is what should have defensive coordinators the most concerned moving forward, is that these guys entering the league, they're all playmakers, but they're becoming distributors. As opposed to, you look at Tom Brady, who's never at any point, I think, been a playmaker. He's always been a distributor.
Right. Joe Burrow doesn't have the Josh Allen Superman qualities or Mahomes' ability, the arm angles. I thought he was kind of a more accurate Tony Romo out of college. He's obviously better than that. Your takeaway on he's so good situationally. He's almost more. It's like Michael Jordan. He's better at the free throw line when the pressure's on than a Tuesday night in Denver. Burrow's better on a 3rd and 6 with a pass rush than he is, 1st and 10. And did you see it early in him?
Yeah, I think we all saw his senior year. I'm in a small group of people who were watching the junior year, right before, when they were, I think, 7-4 at LSU and pretty good, but they led college football in drops that year. This same group of receivers were celebrating as some of the best young players in the NFL. That same group led NCAA in drops Joe's junior year. So they were on the cusp, right? But what's happened in the evolution of Joe's game, in my opinion, and a role that I've played, still to this day, is in the efficiency. So just like I said, Patrick and Josh, there's so many physical things they can do that they grew up playmakers, right? Small schools and all that. With Joe, he's been a distributor game manager, but what's happened is the playmaking part of his game is built around efficiency and fundamentals. So try and find me a clip of him taking his left hand off the ball in the pocket. You won't find it. He always keeps 2 hands on the ball. And the focus that I have with Joe and my NFL clients is removing inefficiencies from the game, removing momentum from their game. So when Joe moves around, he doesn't false step. He doesn't get off balance. He doesn't waste movement. In the AFC Championship, the 3 third down scrambles that he had at Kansas City were the game. They weren't incredible throws 70 yards across his body, but they were plays that should have been sack negative plays, and they were 3rd down conversions. And so with Joe, the game management, the situational awareness, the functional football intelligence, that's off the charts. But the evolution of his game is in the inefficiencies. And what happened is in August, the appendectomy, worst possible timing.
Right.
They cut him up. They sew him back together. He starts off the first couple of games throwing picks and moving inefficiently, and building through bye week, really 2 weeks before bye week, it all clicked. And he's been on a tear ever since.
Hey, let me, fit for quarterbacks it really matters. Mac Jones was very good as a rookie. Remarkably good if you looked at no number 1 receiver. This year, he's regressed. The thing that's changed is his coach. And there's a different language, offense to defense. I mean, there's a reason all these quarterbacks don't go to a linebacker. You were in the NFL for 6 years as a quarterback. The language, the sensibility. I don't like the way they handle him. I don't like them saying publicly he can't make a Hail Mary throw. He is a very emotional player. It was called McEnroe Jones is what Nick Saban called him. So as we wrap this up, I've kind of defended him a little bit on that. Jordan, I've said, listen, if my career was in doubt and you gave me a sales guy to be my producer, I'd be like, you're not taking this seriously. This is my career. You get one shot to be a franchise guy. Are you concerned that Mac, I don't know how well you know him, but I just don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair what he goes through. Just your 30,000-foot view on what he's going to. I've never even seen a DC be an OC in the NFL. I don't even know what is that.
Yeah, I don't think with young quarterbacks, when you've got the 15th overall pick selected in that, invested in them, that you do trial and error on key goals around them. You don't roll the dice on a tight end. You don't roll the dice on a tackle who was terrible there, but let's see if he can pan out here. And I just don't think you have somebody be call plays for the first time in their NFL career, in their entire career, for a young quarterback like that. Statistically speaking, I think he had a great year last year, but there was a moment when I said the Patriots have their quarterback. And that was when the Tampa Bay Buccaneers went into New England. And yes, Tom Brady finished the game with a game-winning drive, and it was awesome. But young Mac Jones went toe-to-toe with him.
Yeah.
He played great. There's no more eyeballs and pressure and expectations on you than in that situation. And so at that moment, I go, cool, they got their guy. Now you just got to build around him. And they're going trial and error.
Yeah.
And I just think they're going to set him back.
Oh, I got to ask you one more. You told me before the season, we talked off the air, and I said, I think USC is going to go 9-3. I said, they don't have enough NFL bodies on defense. There's too much movement. And you said, yeah, Caleb's probably going to solve all of that. He was better than I thought. I think it's sometimes unfair to compare a basketball player to LeBron or Jordan or a player to Mahomes. But my eyes tell me I see some Mahomes. Like his nature in the pocket, he knows where people are. He has what Zach doesn't. It's like he can feel pressure. He leaves at the exact moment he's going to get hit. Is it unfair? I mean, how good is he? You saw it before I did. What do you make of it?
Well, but before I answer this, I'll say this MVP race, in my opinion, is going to come down to Josh Allen and Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes. So let's just say I'm not picking a favorite there for reasons that you said earlier on the show. But I think he's Josh because he's a lot faster than Patrick. He gets to full speed faster. Now, what he does that's similar to Patrick is, and all of these guys, I think, and what I'm training some of the best young players, high school, college, and pro to do is, and what I'm trying to get people to understand is, it's less about how fast you are in the 40-yard dash. It's more, can you change direction at 70% of your full speed or greater? And what Mahomes does is he can be running damn near full speed and change direction. That's what creates time, even if he is a tenth or two slower than Patrick.
Yeah.
Now with Caleb, I think that he gets to full speed and changes direction at almost full speed. And that is what creates problems for defenders that are rushing him, even if they're faster. Oh. That's why it translates to the league. So I think he's closer to Josh than Pat because he's more of a dynamic runner than Patrick. And because of the feel and because of his understanding and situational awareness with the ball in his hands, it'll translate immediately in the NFL. And like I said in September, I think he's going to end up with the Heisman because he's going to solve so many problems for a program that so many people care about.